So let's just get right into it. Have you ever really thought about how the biggest moving objects on the planet, we're talking massive ships, hundreds of meters long, somehow manage to crisscross the vast empty ocean without constantly crashing into each other?
Well, here's the thing. Sometimes they don't. And when two of these giants collide, the results are, well, they're catastrophic. You look at a picture like this, and you just have to wonder, in an ocean that is so ridiculously huge, with all that empty space, how on earth is this even possible? The answer, really, it starts with basic physics. See, these aren't cars. They don't have brakes you can just slam on. A fully loaded supertanker can take miles, literally miles, and more than 15 minutes to come to a full stop. By the time you can clearly see the danger, it is often way, way too late to do anything about it.
To really understand the stakes here, we've got to look at what happens when the whole system just breaks down. And honestly, there are very few failures as stark as the disaster that happened in the English Channel back in 1971.
Now, this is where the story gets really tragic. It's this unbelievable chain reaction. So, January 11th, the Texaco Caribbean goes down. Okay, authorities mark the wreck with warnings. But the very next day, the Brandenburg comes along, ignores the warnings, and plows right into the wreckage. It sinks. So they add more warnings, more buoys, more lights. And yet, about a month later, the Nikki does the exact same thing. It hits the wrecks and sinks, taking its entire crew with it. That's 3 ships, dozens of lives lost, all in the exact same spot. It's just this heartbreaking example of how, without a clear, universally understood system, the ocean is an unbelievably dangerous place. So yeah, that whole series of tragedies, it really hammered home a critical point. To stop that kind of chaos from happening again, there had to be some kind of global standard, a highway code for the high seas.
Which, of course, brings us to the big question, right? In a world that has no roads, no lanes, no stop signs, how do you even begin to write the rules of the road? Well, you use this flowchart. This represents one of the single most important documents in all of global trade. It is the rule book that every single mariner, from the captain of a supertanker to the skipper of a tiny fishing boat, lives and breathes by. It's called COLREGs. It stands for the International Regulations for Preventing Collisions at Sea. And you should think of it as the ultimate authority on the water. It's this globally agreed upon set of rules that decides who goes first, who has to turn, and how ships communicate with each other. It's what ensures that 2 vessels approaching in the middle of a dark night can predict what the other is going to do without even saying a word. So let's take a look at how these rules actually work out there in the real world. We're going to break down a couple of the most fundamental ideas that are preventing disasters on the water every single day. Okay, so the most basic idea is the relationship between any 2 ships. In a situation where a collision might happen, one ship is called the giveaway vessel. It's their job, their responsibility to make an early and really obvious move to get out of the way. The other ship is the stand-on vessel, and their job is simple, but it is absolutely critical. Just keep going. Maintain your course and speed. It's that predictability that is the bedrock of safety. But a rule is only as good as the person following it. Take the case of the conship Success. The crew on that ship completely misunderstood this basic principle. They made a bunch of small little turns that nobody could really notice, putting themselves on a collision course. And then, get this, they tried to argue that their new course made them the stand-on vessel, the one with the right of way. The court did not agree. Not at all. In fact, they found the conship Success 100% at fault, which is a very, very rare ruling. And the lesson here is crystal clear. You can't create a dangerous situation and then try to use the rules to claim you're in the right. These rules have serious teeth. And to handle traffic in the busiest places, like the English Channel, we've got these. Traffic separation schemes. They are quite literally highways on the ocean. They have designated lanes to keep ships heading in opposite directions safely apart. The rules are pretty much as simple as driving on the freeway. Stay in your lane and go with the flow of traffic. So, okay, we have the rules, we have designated highways on the water. But there's one variable that no rulebook, no system can ever fully control, and that's us, people. And that brings us to the most complicated part of this entire puzzle. What happens when you have 2 modern ships packed with the best technology money can buy, in perfect weather, with clear visibility, and they still manage to run into each other? This is exactly what happened with the Hyundai Dominion and the Skyhope. The official report is just wild. The officers on watch on both ships actually got on the radio and argued.
Because each one thought they were the stand-on vessel. Each one was waiting for the other guy to give way. Nobody did anything until they were just seconds from impact, and neither of them bothered to call their captain until it was all over. This wasn't a failure of the rules. It wasn't a failure of technology. It was a complete failure of basic seamanship and communication. And look, this is not some rare one-off event. This single statistic, it might be the most revealing number in all of maritime safety. 65%. Think about that. In nearly 2/3 of all collisions at sea, the root cause was that someone simply wasn't paying proper attention. Not just looking out the window, but using all the tools they have, including their radar. And speaking of radar, it's not as simple as just looking at a screen. Mariners have to interpret really complex data. For instance, depending on how the radar is set up, whether it's showing movement relative to the water or relative to the ground, the picture of what another ship is doing can look totally different. If you misunderstand what you're seeing, especially in coastal areas with strong currents, you can make a fatal miscalculation. So when you stand on the shore and you look out at the ocean, what you're seeing isn't just empty water. It's a complex, invisible system that's working 24/7 to keep the world moving. And that's really the main takeaway here. Keeping these giants from running into each other is this constant, delicate dance. It's a dance between the rigid, black and white structure of the COLRGs, the incredible power of modern technology, and the final and most important element, the skilled, focused judgment of a human being on the bridge of that ship. So why should you care about any of this? Because 90% of everything you own, your phone, your clothes, the food in your kitchen, it all traveled on a ship. This whole invisible system is what props up our entire global economy. When it works, your stuff arrives safely. When it fails, well, the cost is measured in human lives, in environmental disasters, and in massive economic disruption. And every single day, thousands upon thousands of times, this dance is performed flawlessly. It's done by dedicated mariners in every kind of weather at all hours of the day and night. They're relying on their training, their tools, and those unwritten rules of the open ocean to bring their ships and their cargo safely home. Which really just leaves us with one final thought to chew on. As we move faster and faster towards a future of automated, maybe even crewless ships, this whole system forces us to ask a really important question. What is the true, irreplaceable value of human expertise and judgment when the stakes are this high?